This is First GenXers.
Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of The Classroom on First GenXers Presents. I am your host. For those of you who are just now joining us, I am your host, Double KK Double, otherwise known as Dark Lord 100, and I am here, as always, with my brother, Mr. Swab, for this. What's up, bro? Probably last session for a while, but it's been a great ride having him for the past few months. Being able to come in and give his opinions and help liven up the show with me and O'Malley. So let's make it a good one, brother. Let's make it a good one. All right, so we're going to kick off in the one place where we should kick off, and that is the NBA playoffs. We had already had the play-in tournament take place. All of that's been sorted out, and the teams that are in are the teams that are in, and now the real playoffs can begin. But I'm going to take a second to stop in the play-in. And that's because as a Warriors fan, well, we're going to talk a little bit about them on this show. Y'all can live with it. The Warriors managed to beat, who was it?
Clippers.
The Clippers in what was a very, very classic game, and literally gave me hope that they were at least going to be able to get into the 8 seed. I didn't expect them to do much after that. But I was like, with the way we played against the Clippers, like, we should be able to beat the Suns. Like, they don't have KD, but I didn't realize they still had Devin Booker and Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks. And, the game didn't go as well for this team. So, Swab, give us your thoughts on this 1-1 run in the play-in for the Warriors.
It's a tough pill to swallow. They're not 100% healthy, but you go in with who you got. They did a great job against the Clippers. It was a come from behind victory. We were down 10 most of the game. And then Draymond Green was able to put the clamps on Kawhi Leonard, and the rest of the team wasn't able to step up. And it was a different scenario against Phoenix. You got to give Jalen Green a ton of credit. He played outstanding most of that game, and it really, I think, was the difference on why the Suns were able to beat the Warriors. They just weren't able to really contain them. Everybody kind of chipped in. If I did have to have a down spot for the Warriors, I think that Steve Kerr has to get past using just 8 people in a game plan. It worked against the Clippers. So, what he does is, okay, well, this worked. Let's go ahead and do it. And he talks about how it's about matchups, and he's trying to play the matchups to get victories and get wins. And I think he did a disservice to the team because a lot of the guys on the far end of the bench had been playing and playing well in spots. So I think that when they were down early against Phoenix, yet again he stayed with his tried and true, 5 starters and three guys subbing in and out. And I think that's a mistake. Everything that we did was based off strength and numbers. You should have gone at least 10 deep, tried to find the spark plug, tried to find somebody that could have pulled a Buddy Hield or a Klay Thompson quarter, or, had an opportunity to make their mark in a playoff run, and he didn't let it happen. He kind of stagnated. I think that was a drastic coaching error in this game, even shorthanded. You never know who's going to be able to step up and have that kind of a clutch game. Um, I really think this loss is on Steve Kerr. I think that they started slow, and as soon as they started slow, and you're in that quicksand, you've got to start making the adjustments and giving guys opportunities to see if they're going to give you anything. And it only takes a handful of possessions to see if they're going to maybe light a spark and get something going. But yet again, Steve Kerr stays with his 8, and Warriors go on to lose by, I think it was 15 or 16 points. So I think this loss is really on Steve Kerr and his coaching style, his coaching preferences. He has to. He's been blessed so far. He's a championship winning coach. He's one of the higher winning percentage coaches in NBA history. But let's be real. When you really look at his coaching, he hasn't done a ton of evolution along with the roster. And he has had pieces. I know people will say, well, look at James Wiseman. He can't get people to step up, and look at Kuminga. But if you look at a lot of the other guys, Moses Moody stepped up big in a lot of key roles,
Uh,
Podzimski, Jordan Poole
Poole,
before him. So, I mean, you've got pieces, and you just have to give them an opportunity to go out there and see if they can maybe start a run or get a spark for the rest of the team that can give you some momentum. And her, for whatever reason, maybe there's just not strong enough voices on the assistant coaching staff. Um, I mean, he listened to the videographer to put Iggy in and start the small ball, era, the death lineup era. So,
yeah,
at some point, Steve Kerr has to listen to somebody and can't just stick to his guns on only playing 8 people especially when you've had opportunities throughout the season where you've been going 9 or 10 deep for the most part and letting a lot of guys get playtime. We saw Pat Spencer didn't play at all. Quentin Post was playing a lot and all of a sudden isn't playing at all.
yeah. That
Moses
was
Moody didn't get a ton of run. You play Podzimski, but that's to be expected because he's your guy. But you've got to play. There's 3 or 4 people that where's Rashard? Where's Melton? So I mean, those guys could have came in and gave the team a spark, maybe started plugging away, chipping away at the 10-point deficits throughout the game, and who knows, maybe the Warriors are able to pull this one out. But I think he
maybe
really
it doesn't
failed the
work, but
team.
maybe it doesn't. Who knows? I don't know what they've seen in practice. Maybe it doesn't work, but I've also wondered a lot why uh, he never developed a lineup with Quentin Post and Kristaps Porzingis on the floor at the same time. Like maybe they didn't play well together and they saw that in practice. I don't know, but I would think that having 2 7-footers around the rim for a couple of minutes every quarter can't hurt. You
Yeah, I mean,
know,
the team obviously didn't have it, and he just didn't change the entire game and watch the playoff hopes of this run freaking evaporate. Honestly, that was like the worst part of the whole thing. And yeah, we're missing Butler, and yeah, we've had some, Steph just came back off of his injury after a long absence. But to only play 8 guys in this game just because it worked against the Clippers, I don't want to say anything as drastic as Steve Kerr's got to go. He's a good coach and he's shown his mettle, but he needs to be told, you need to evolve. You have to start looking at 9 or 10 guys playing. Who gives a damn if the matchups aren't looking right? Let some guys go out there and compete and see if they can get over or overcome some mismatches. Because what you were doing wasn't fucking working.
instead of sticking with it, you got to adjust. All
Yeah,
right, so
yeah,
now
all game.
now we'll kick into the real basketball talk as we go to. All right, and we open with the 1-8 seed. Sorry, now we can go back to it. All right, the 1-8 matchup in the West, which is the Thunder and the Suns. The Thunder have already won game one. Don't expect this to be something that's going to be anything other than easy work, no matter how much trouble that team gave to. Sorry, small distraction. No matter how much trouble that team gave to the Warriors, the Thunder are a whole different beast, and they're going to be in playoff mode. And I'm expecting a sweep. What are you expecting out of this series?
I wouldn't necessarily go that far. They do got Booker, and they do got Jalen Green. Jalen Green's off a high. They did just catch this L, but you got 2 guys that could hit you for 30 piece any given game. So I'm
Yeah,
expecting a gentleman's sweep. I don't see it going 6 games. I see it going maybe 5. Phoenix defends 1 game on the home court. It'll be the typical malaise that happens when a team goes up. I expect Oklahoma City to go up 2-0, and they go into Phoenix, and Phoenix fights for their life for one game, and OKC kind of looks disinterested, but they're young enough to where they might be able to pull it back and finish them off. But I expect Phoenix to get one game at home and then get finished off by game 5.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Gentleman sweep. To me, it's all the same. Gentleman sweep or sweep. Even if you just won one game, you might as well have not won any. But I could see Shea winning his second MVP and the Thunder winning their second title. Heck, in my run as the Warriors GM in NBA 2K26, the Thunder won 3 straight titles. They won the one that they won last year, they won this year's, and they won next year's before somebody finally knocked them off. And then it was a hodgepodge of random things. It was weird where 2K had it going. But yeah, so like I said, and I don't really expect whoever makes it to the second round, whether it be the Lakers or the Rockets, to really challenge OKC either. The Lakers currently lead the Rockets. It was one of the first surprise. You would say it's not a surprise because the Lakers are the 4 and the Rockets are the 5, but it is a surprise because I don't know of anybody who expected the Lakers to really do much in this series. But
I mean, I expect them to win a game or two. I wouldn't say, I didn't see them getting swept out. They still do have LeBron. They got a lot of guys that they'll be leaning on. They played well in game 1 to get the victory. I think Houston, being at home also definitely helped the Lakers. I think Houston will show a stronger effort in game 2, and I still expect the Rockets to pull this series out. Hopefully, because the Brondashians will lose their minds if LeBron somehow wins 4 of these damn games out of the next, or 3 of these games out of the next 6.
That's the reason why he's the GOAT. He took a team for the nobodies. No.
Yeah, ridiculous.
We
Like they
had that
wasn't there all
conversation earlier
season
this week.
helping. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like when people say, people go, why do people say that LeBron is that his teammates never get any credit? I say because point blank and simple. If the team wins, LeBron's the reason why they won, and if the team loses, his teammates are the reason why they lost because they're not good enough.
I do you one better. I was having a argument on it with a guy on TikTok, and he mentioned, well, what happened to the 2011 Cavs after LeBron left? What was their record then? Because I mentioned that the team had won 60 straight wins, so I went and I checked the roster. When I checked the year after he left, that team was almost 100% different from the team that he left. So there's a huge reason on why they didn't compete for victories and had a losing record that almost instantly got a number 1 pick in the lottery 3 out of the 4 years he was gone. So that was not the same team that he had led to the finals.
To the top,
Yeah, and won 60 games. So let's not get it twisted. He's had good teammates.
And also, it's funny because I also say the same thing that people don't seem to get about the KD Warriors scenario. They changed over 6 people. Yeah, none of their core people, but they changed over 6 people out of 15. That's damn near half. That's damn near half of the people on your squad that they changed over between when KD got there to be able to bring him in. That was a completely different team. That was not that team that it just went 73-9. It was a completely different team. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a good team. KD joined a good team, but he didn't join that 73-9. Now, if Harrison Barnes had left and KD came and replaced him, and that was all that had changed, the whole bench and everybody else was still the same, then I would agree with you. He joined the 73-9 team. But no, they gutted half their bench, easy, over 2/3 of their bench to bring him in. That's a different team. Chemistry had to be learned. They were just, and what's funny is that we talk about, like, there's a joke that runs before we move on to the next series that runs about people saying LeBron fans are just mad because KD did what LeBron did, that he just did it better. And another example of that is the fact that in KD's first year with the Warriors, they won a title. In LeBron's first year with the Heat, they didn't. Yeah, that would lean towards KD just did it better. Anyway, So we also now have one of the classic rivalries, what's becoming quickly one of the classic rivalries in the NBA. The number 3 Nuggets taking on the number 6 Detroit or Minnesota Timberwolves. Ant Man taking on Jokic and Jamal Murray and them boys. The Nuggets currently have a 1-0 lead. What do you think about this series, Steve?
I think Nuggets will pull this out in 6 games. I don't. I expect the Timberwolves to get off at least two. Potentially, it could go to only 5 games. Denver at the moment still just has too much for the T Wolves. Uh, T Wolves didn't necessarily have a season that they expected to have for a playoff positioning, but Anthony Edwards is a top 15 player in the game today. But
He's top 10,
they've
I
got
think.
to yeah, I mean, you can make the argument. Absolutely, uh, I wouldn't go against it. I'm not adverse to saying it, but I think they still need to put more pieces around him. Um, the team that's around him now is starting to age a little bit, and it's time for them to inject some youth. It's going to be tough because they'll always be lower end of the first round in their drafts, but if they can manage their cap properly, they can go out there and bring in maybe a premium free agent, a co-star for Edwards, and maybe Minnesota can start making some noise.
Wasn't Cat supposed to be that? Oh, they don't have Cat anymore, huh?
Yeah, he's in New York.
They, he's in New York. My bad. But all right, yeah. Hopefully we will see. Speaking of side note, real quick, the Warriors have been said to be wanting to make a major push for either Giannis or Kawhi this postseason or this offseason.
I think the
Why
Kawhi
I
stuff
don't
is
know.
over, but I can see Kawhi.
Here's what's funny. I don't even know why they want to bring in anybody else. Just run it back with Jimmy, Kristaps, Al Horford, Draymond, and Steph. You get all 5 of them healthy, and then you give them a good bench with Pods and Moody and GP2 and all that. I think that's a championship caliber team right there.
I mean, they can challenge, but if you have an opportunity to bring in somebody like Kawhi, especially after the way he played this year, there's no doubt about it. They would try to do it. The question for, and a lot of people are confused. They think that Kawhi would need to be traded for, but the Clippers are in for some vast penalties for paying players under the table.
Yeah,
Kawhi being one of them. So there's a lot of talk that his contract is actually going to get voided. Then they're going to get hit with the penalties for draft picks and all that stuff. It's going to be even crazier than the T Wolves Joe Thomas stuff. So
right.
I expect Kyrie to end up being a free agent. He's gonna have his choice of really two teams because that was the reason he left Toronto, a team that had just won a title, even though it was blessed with injuries to do it, but he still got it done. You give him his credit.
Yeah,
Um, there's only really two teams. It's LA or the Warriors because he doesn't really want to be far from LA, and it's only a 4.5 hour drive to get up here to Frisco and play for the Warriors. The only question is both teams are over the cap, unless LeBron retires. And even then, I think they don't have a ton of cap room, even if that were to transpire. So it's probably for the mid-level exemption, at
mm,
like 10 something million a season, and he'll have to take like the hand slap. I mean, he could run off somewhere and go get paid. He could join up. There are a few teams that don't have cap room. It's just going to be
yeah,
dependent on, is Kawhi willing to leave California, where he was born and raised, and then be Midwest, back east. There'll be a couple of teams, but if he wants to be on a winner and stay in California, it's only the Lakers and Golden State. Those are his only options. So we'll see what
very true.
happens.
We'll see what happens. All right, so last Western Conference matchup, the only series that has not had a game played yet, Spurs versus Blazers. Hey, who knew the Blazers were going to be here at this point? We thought Damian Lillard out for the season. The Blazers was going to be a bottom feeder, a lottery team. And here we are. They're the 7th seed facing off against Wemby and the Spurs, another team that people thought was going to take a couple more years to develop, but it looks like that new coach over there has found his man in Wemby, and they're going to be making a push here in the playoffs probably this year. What are your thoughts on this Blazers Spurs series?
I got to eat crow for a minute because a guy on TikTok before the season started told me that um, the Warriors would not make the playoffs. Boston would make the playoffs, and Portland, he had Portland rated higher, and I want to say he had them as the 7 or 8 seed in the playoffs. And I got to give him the credit because I told him there's no way Boston doesn't fall off as hard as Indiana. I was wrong. And the Warriors didn't make the playoffs. So I was wrong again. And then
Uh,
3 for 3, the Blazers made the playoffs, surprising the hell out of me. But I don't expect the Spurs to have much trouble with this game. They should, uh, if they don't sweep them, it'll be a gentleman's sweep. I don't see the Blazers unless San Antonio has a major meltdown or some type of injury. I don't expect the Blazers to win more than one, maybe 2 games if some type of last second shot miracle happens. The Spurs are a true contender for the title. They're at the top. Wemby makes the difference. So this is the year that the Spurs could really find their way in the Western Conference Finals against OKC, and we can have that really good matchup with the Spurs and the Thunder.
yeah, I think we all would love to see that. I know I would. All right, so now we're going to jump over to the other side of the board to the Eastern Conference, and we are going to take a look at the 1 versus 8 seed, which tonight saw a massive upset as the number 8 seed Orlando Magic managed to topple the Pistons in Game 1. Now, is this a sign that the Pistons are paper champions, or is this just Orlando being hot coming off of winning that play-in matchup?
I'm not sure. Is Cade Cunningham playing, or is he still hurt with the collapsed lung thing?
That's it.
Because even if he's playing, I know he's not playing at 100%. And Orlando is a young and up and coming team that had a disappointing season. Um, they do have a star. They got they got Banchero, they got Wagner, they got Bain. They've been healthy through most of the season. So, you got to give them their flowers right now for getting that first game, which is critical in the playoffs.
Okay,
And the
he's
Pistons,
back. He's back, but they said he's not quite 100% yet. He's almost there. He
yeah.
came back with like 12 games left to play in the season.
Yeah, so the playoffs are a different beast. You really need your health in the playoffs. That's when it counts the most. It's gonna be tough. They should bounce back. They had a great season, but they may just be, I wouldn't call them paper tigers. I would say that they're probably a year away from truly competing had they
Mhm.
not had the injury to Cunningham that knocked him out for a while.
Okay. Okay. Next up, we have the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Toronto Raptors. Cleveland's currently up 1-0 in this series. I expect Cleveland to win this series in 5 or 6. The Cavaliers will just be too much. I love the Raptors, but I just don't think that they're there yet. They're on their way. They're young. They're up and coming, but I just don't think that they're there. What are your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, Cavs should win this game. They need a revenge playoff run after last year, getting knocked out. So, I believe they got
By
knocked out in the
Indiana to
second
boot.
round. Yeah, yeah. So, they should be able to handle the Raptors. I'll give Raptors credit for being a 5 seed in the East. That's good for them. But they're going to fall short against the Cavs as long as the Cavs remain healthy and they keep that taste in their mouth from last year. They should handle the Raptors.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. All right, now what is one of the most interesting series and the most interesting storyline for Warriors haters as Jonathan Kaminga and the and Atlanta Hawks are the 6 seed
Hoodie will
against
be thinking.
the Knicks and against the Knicks in the Eastern Conference. I see this as something that I expect New York to win this series, but I think it's going to be a back and forth series because New York's just that type of team this year. They're that roller coaster type of team. So I could see this going 6 or 7, but I think the Knicks will take care of it in 6. What are your thoughts?
That's giving the Hawks a lot of credit. I don't think they're as cohesive as a lot of people believe. I think the Knicks have everything they need to beat the Hawks handily. I expect the Hawks to maybe get a game, but if Brunson, who's leading that team, really kind of hammers in that they got to bring it every game, this could be a sweep. I don't see barring injury, I don't see how the Hawks can really even make this a series unless
Okay.
somebody on the Hawks, I wouldn't say just with injury. If somebody on the Hawks shows up and shows out, they could extend the series to maybe 6 games. I, for one, just don't see it. Knicks have too much size. They've got the playoff pedigree so far. This is the Hawks' first real, chance since Trey Young's era. So to be in the playoffs, I don't think they've really identified who all is their scoring options. They're just kind of going out there and, as the ballers will say, they're just out there hooping. But I don't think that when it comes to the playoffs, especially, yeah, in the season, you can hoop and you can just go out there and do what you do. And, you may win, you may not, you may win more than you lose. But in the playoffs require a bit of structure. It can't just be running and gunning, freewheeling. And that's kind of what the Hawks have been doing and kind of catching teams slipping, to be honest. But in the playoffs, that's different. You need structure. You need plays. Yeah, you might be able to do it with a little bit of ISO ball if you got a great ISO guy, because Houston was doing it with Harden for years. But you do occasionally need some structure where you can count on getting some buckets, and I don't see the Hawks being able to do that in a 7-game series.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, and then to close out this segment of the show, we have the East 2-7 matchup, which has Boston up 1-0. This was the matchup where the young kids in the 76ers uh, jerseys, the fans started chanting, "We want Boston." And now they're going to find out exactly what they asked for as Boston proceeds to do what it's been doing all year, whether it had Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown or not. And that is putting boots to ass and winning games. So I see Boston in potentially a sweep, even if Embiid comes back. But what do you think is going to happen with the series?
Yeah, 76ers just don't have enough in the tank to beat Boston. This is where I got to eat my crow because I didn't see Boston being able to be this good with
Yeah.
Tatum being out this long. So I give Jalen Brown and White a ton of credit, especially after the fire sale. I figured, they were down on this season and gonna go ahead and, take the draft pick, but they fooled me and they should and stunned me, honestly. So I think Boston, you got to give them credit. They're a upper tier championship contender, and they're trying to show everybody what Indiana couldn't, and is that they're not going to have a fall off year even after the fire sale. So I don't think 76ers have enough. Also on the 76ers, real quick, I think that they made a drastic error in destroying the confidence of Ben Simmons. I think he could have still been a difference maker for this team, even missing Embiid. And we know about his shooting troubles and his shooting phobias when he's actually on the court. But I think he could have been an instrumental piece. He's been off ever since. But had they not broken his confidence and he was a part of this team, I think Philly would be awful dangerous right now, even with
Oh,
his
Ben
his
Simmons
shooting
and
phobias.
but Ben Simmons, Paul George, freaking Edgecombe, and fucking Embiid right
Yeah,
now, oh, they would
yeah,
be
and
one of
Maxi,
the most
I
dangerous
mean,
teams.
they'd be looking real good even without Embiid. But they broke the kid's confidence, and he was never the same.
Yeah, very, very true, sir. Very, very true. All right, so that's going to close out our basketball talk. All right, real quick swap since this is going to be your last show for a while. Um, uh, Prediction: Who you got in the finals?
I think Oklahoma City beats the Spurs in 6. Unless a massive, incredible upset happens and Wemby goes off for 30, 15, and 5 blocks every game. I
Uh,
expect SGA to get a ton of foul calls. I think they face the Knicks. I think the Knicks are going to find a way to squeak past everybody on their side of the bracket and find their way in there. I'd be highly surprised if it's Boston. Um, I gave them their credit. I just don't see how they're necessarily improved enough. But I want to give the Knicks some of their flowers. So I think it's going to be Oklahoma City and the Knicks. I think it goes 6 games because it's the
okay.
finals. Maybe it goes 5 because again, it is the finals and Brunson and them crew haven't been there yet. But Oklahoma City is going back to back. I don't see really. I do see small avenues where other teams can step up, but my prediction: Oklahoma City versus the Knicks. OKC wins in 5 or 6 and hoist their back-to-back titles and back-to-back banners up in the rafters.
All right, you heard it here first. Oklahoma City repeating champs. According to
Please
Mr.
not the
Swab,
Spurs. Please not the Spurs.
we'll check back in with you after the finals, bro. We'll check back in with you after the finals. All right, so for right now, guys, we're going to go ahead and take about a 5-minute break real quick, get up, move our legs, get the blood pumping, and then we'll be back to talk a little bit about a subject we probably would have talked about last week, which was March Madness, and that great finale of a national title game between Michigan and UConn. And then also we'll talk a little bit of hockey, and then I just wanted to talk before we close the show, one little factoid about baseball that happened within these last 2 weeks that was quite interesting. So we'll get to that after the break. You're watching The Classroom with Double K and Mr. Suave right here on First GenXers Broadcast Network on Twitch and Double KK Double Network on YouTube. We'll see you guys on the other side of the break. Peace.
We back at it. Yep, we still doing it. Poetic beat. First GenXers. Gia. Let's get it, y'all. Come on. We back in the building. It's been a long time cooking in the soup kitchen. And I'm chilling with the same. Dropping these beats, won't stop, nope, I can't. Let me get up in the lab, turn it up. Game on with the First GenXers. What's up? Let's flip on the Switch or the Xbox and get up in my zone, I'm clowning. Let me clear my throat for a minute. Shout out to my folks while I'm in it. It ain't nothing but love, it's babe business. I really don't know what's so who ain't feeling this. And this is only the beginning. Now versus then, this is something for the chillin'. Poetic got the joints like McDonald's. I'm loving it. It's the First GenXers. We're now rocking with Poetic Beats. This is the First GenXers production. Get your PlayStations out. Get your Xbox out. Get your Switch out. Let's get it in, y'all. Holla back.
You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. You got to keep it. You got to keep it lovely. Success comes right after the struggle. I ain't even giving up on whatever I wanted. The tragedies I've seen, I can't even stomach. Most of y'all weak as shit and would've started running. Every time I make it back to the crib, I'm thankful the Most High let me see all of it. Grateful I'm lovely, and I'm being real with this. Please don't judge me. I'ma stay on my shit.
Adams family like dynamic between Pugsley and Wednesday. Like,
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah.
Well, I always temper this because I think
I did not like the receiving caution tagline.
I've also seen what Chase Center looks like when the Valkyries are fucking playing, so fuck all of you. Because Chase Center is packed no matter what's going on.
there we go. Let me unmute the mics. All right. So we are back. And we are going to talk more basketball, but just a younger version. As we did not get a chance to cover a couple of weeks ago the fact that the Michigan Wolverines were able to beat the UConn Huskies 69-63 to win the NCAA national title. NCAA means national title, won the March Madness. Their MVP was Elliot Kadu, who was named tournament MOP after leading the team with 19 points in the final. The defense held UConn to 31% shooting from the field. Morris Johnson Jr. contributed a double-double, 12 points and 10 rebounds. Head coach Dustin May led the team to the title in his first few seasons. Michigan became the first team to win a national championship with a starting lineup consisting entirely of players who began their careers at other schools. Wow. That's that transfer portal putting in work, huh?
That's the NIL and transfer portal. That's what it was for.
So give me your thoughts on this national title and what it may mean for Michigan. And does this not necessarily stain, but put a small little dent in Danny Hurley's, image as a top coach or as the top coach?
I mean, not at all, really. I mean, even just getting to the national title, not necessarily winning it, is still huge. And most teams, you get props for making the Sweet 16. Well, I should say your Cinderellas get mad props for getting to the Sweet 16. Your strongest teams and big time programs get credit for making the Elite Eight and the Final Four. And he made it all the way to the title game with a UConn team that I really didn't necessarily see coming, even though I said before that they always find a way to kind of creep up. And I know they just went back to back a handful of years ago or whatever it was. I do want to take a second to give Michigan their credit. The kid predicted that they was the best team in the country and they were going to prove it, and they did. It wasn't. It was way closer than I thought it was going to be. So I got to give UConn a lot of credit. They didn't shoot necessarily well, but they didn't shoot themselves out of the game per se. But Michigan was fairly in control of this game throughout, and you got to give them their flowers. They went out there and they got it done.
Nice. And like I said, congratulations to them. Michigan is my secondary team for some of y'all that don't know me. Just like with baseball, I have my American League team and my National League team. I have my primary team, which is my Cal Bears, my hometown team, and then I have my secondary team, which is the Michigan Wolverines. And Swab can tell you that dates back to
Fab Five. Yep.
I've been a Wolverines fan
as
forever.
soon as they dropped them shorts to the knees, the whole half the nation was on their side, and I was one of them.
Yep. Shoot. What's funny is that prior to being, yes, I jumped around as a kid. I think kids have the right to jump around and like different teams at different times for different reasons. I jumped around. I was a UNLV fan for a little bit during the years with Larry Johnson and Stacey Ogden and all of that.
I mean, Georgetown. I was hot on Georgetown for a good decade.
Yep. And then like you said, around the Fab Five time, I fell in love with the Michigan Wolverines and I've been a Michigan and Cal fan ever since. And no, there's no irony lost on me about both teams being kind of a maize and blue type team, color team when it comes to the colors. But in general, yeah, it's good. It makes me feel good when I see Michigan win a title. Like it makes me feel good when I see that, just like it would if Cal ever got that far in my lifetime. There are two teams.
We had good teams. We face tougher teams, and they can never really. They have spikes and just never consistent with the talent. NIL could change it because I mean, Cal could definitely afford to spend some money and make a powerhouse program by paying some kids to come for a couple of years and actually doing something like an Indiana move. They could. So please, Cal, whenever you're ready to, open up the purse strings and let somebody go in there and do some damage, I'm ready.
But yeah, there's. I was gonna make a statement about there's two teams in my life that two of my favorite sports teams that I've never witnessed. Even one I've never witnessed play for a championship, and the other is I've never witnessed them win a championship. The San Jose Sharks have not won a championship in their existence, let alone during my lifetime. And the Cal Bears athletics program in general, like the major sports athletics program. Yes, they've won track and field titles. They've won rugby titles. Cal Rugby is one of the best programs in the world. Uh, but I've never seen them come close to sniffing a national title in football or basketball. I've seen them make some decent. I've seen them play in. I've not seen them, but I've seen them play in the World Series of Baseball, the college World Series of Baseball, but not the
Yeah,
actual
Cal in other
final game.
sports has been phenomenal, and they do have championships in other sports. But the big two, basketball and football, they had the run with J Kidd and Lamont Murray in them. They had Sharif Abdul Rahim for 2 or 3 years. But other than that, the wins were sparse and the runs were sparse for basketball. And then we grew up with Aaron Rodgers and Marshawn Lynch, Deshaun Jackson, and the kid from the San Diego Chargers, Allen. For
Hmm.
some reason, his first name's escaping me right now. But
Yeah,
we saw some good, strong runs, and outside of a couple of flubs, and especially if the college football playoff had happened back then, maybe they would have been able to make some noise. But because it was only the top two teams getting in there, it was a
kind of
rough
during the
time for
Aaron
us as
Rodgers
Cal
days.
fans. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
during
mean,
Aaron Rodgers.
but if Cal is a championship winning school because they do win in other sports. Um, you know, they've got a gaggle of championships and other things other than never really winning in football and basketball.
True, true. Oh man, but
But I feel
all
you
right.
about the Sharks because then we watched the damn Las Vegas Knights, Golden Knights, win what,
Year
two
one.
Stanley Cups? Yeah.
Yeah,
And you watch that and you're just like, well, Sharks, what the hell were you doing this whole time? And you've had great players.
yeah. They've had some Thornton and fucking Couture.
Marleau, yeah, I mean they've had some
Yeah,
talent on those teams, and just now I will say there were other better teams in that era when the Sharks were created. I will say that you had the Red Wings dominating, the Bruins with Thornton early on were running. Sidney Crosby hadn't even really gotten into the league yet, but as soon as he did, it changed. So they there were some juggernauts out there, but man, what the Golden Knights got to get blessed with in year 1 and 2 or year 1 and 3,
yeah,
every expansion team in the rest of history has to do something like that because the Golden Knights set the standard.
100%. I'm with you right there. That they did. All right, so glad we kind of drifted over into hockey there because that's our next subject. In the Stanley Cup playoffs begin, and I really don't want to focus on the playoffs. I haven't really been paying too much attention this season, so I'm not too high on knowledge on what's going on with some of the top teams. But I do want to give a shout out to those exact same San Jose Sharks who fell 2 points short of making the playoffs,
Yeah.
basically one win short. And I was proud of them because this was a young team led by Macklin Celebrini. Celebrini is his name, yeah.
Yep.
And the boys and Will Smith, who's only like in his fourth year in the league or something like that. Like it's led by a bunch of young bucks, and they were putting out games. Again, I get the notifications at the end of every Sharks game from the ESPN app. They're one of my teams on there. So when I started seeing W's come up, it was like, whoa, hey, what are y'all doing here? And then it came down to the last couple of games of the season, and it was like, yeah, they're like right out there. And then they lost. I think they lost the game to the Oilers a couple of weeks ago, or like a week ago, and they were like, yeah, they're out of it. And I was just like, damn. But the fact that they were right there, that they finished over 500, I think they were like 45 and 36 or something like that, or something like that. So like they're not going to be a bad team moving forward, and hopefully they'll continue to grow. What I love most about it is you know who their GM is, right? Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, while you're doing that, I'll give the Sharks their flowers. They've been drafting well. They're not getting great returns yet, but I will say they've definitely shown marked improvement. Uh, the Brainy kid just got finished. He just broke the record for the Sharks for most
Yep,
points in the
points.
season.
Yes,
So,
sir.
you give him credit. So that was a great draft pick. Um, I'm almost actually glad that they didn't make the playoffs so that way they can get another pick. So if they've been doing their scouting like they had been doing, they can bring in another piece to come in and help this team compete. They are really young. I'm not sure what they're going to do in the offseason per se, but they're on the cusp of being a playoff team, and as soon as they can get to that, who knows? One time in the next 5, 6 seasons, I don't see them being a juggernaut, but they could do a one-shot championship, so that way we could knock down them off the list of teams that we follow and have as our favorite teams that can actually, say we've seen them win a title.
Now, this is the guy that's kind of architects the turnaround. His name is Mike Greer. He's a former NHL player who actually did play for 14 seasons, including 3 with the Sharks from 2006 to 2009. He is the first Black general manager in NHL history, and he is the one that is currently responsible for overseeing. Uh, uh, and he is responsible for overseeing one of the biggest rebuilds in Sharks history. So shout out to Mike Greer, like my dude getting it done, got this team looking good already. I think he's only been on the job for 2 years. Like I want to say he hasn't been on the job that long, but he is already turning this team into a competitive team, and that was by just investing, using those draft picks, investing in youth, and then surrounding them with veteran leadership, which is
Yep.
the combination to any championship team is youth with veteran leadership. So I can't wait to see what the Sharks are going to do moving forward. Like they've got to be destined to be a great team. All right, and now there was a lot of stuff going on in the MLB over the past couple of weeks, losing streaks. There were people who hit milestones of saves, a number of saves. But the one thing that I wanted to talk about actually went down last week. And I know you're not necessarily a direct A's fan anymore, but I also know you do keep track of them as well and kind of how they're doing. This last week, the Oakland A's made history, or just within the last 2 weeks, the Oakland A's made history. They shut out the Yankees in the third game of that series, not to mention winning that series 2-1 against the Yankees, and then shut out the Mets the very next day. Evidently, according to the stat keepers, this is the first time in the history of the MLB that the Yankees and Mets have been shut out on back-to-back days.
I
It's
mean,
not a big
let's be honest.
accomplishment.
Yeah, it is. When you really think about it, I mean, the Mets and Yankees, the Mets haven't always had great teams, but they've had those one shots, the Miracle Mets, and they've had definitely have drafted some studs throughout their history. So to do it to both teams and to have it be the first time done in MLB history, according to the statisticians or the people checking up the stats, I mean, those are things that never happened before. It was due to happen, I guess, at some point.
I guess
Happy
so.
for the Athletics. I'm not calling them Oakland. I'm not calling them Sacramento. I'll just call them what they're calling themselves, the Athletics, the homeless team. And you give them credit. I do believe that this is the beginning of the uptick that we're used to as Oakland Athletics fans. The team would go on a dry spell of about 3 to 4 years, having sold off talent, or accumulating draft picks and your other talent. And now we're starting to see those guys kind of come up through the system and start to become major league players. And this is the upswing. I believe they're going to be a competitive team this year. They should battle for a playoff spot. I'm not sure if they'll make it per se, but they should be at least a wild card team or at least be close to there by the end of the season, barring injuries, of course, because you know how baseball is. But the A's are due for an upswing. They're due to start making some noise over the next 2, 3 years. And I believe they got another should be one more season in Sacramento, I believe, after this year, and then their stadium will be ready. So they're due to be a competitive playoff worthy team in that window for their first inaugural season as the Las Vegas Athletics.
Which would be interesting.
I mean, they're due. They got to do something because I mean, you
Yeah.
can't bring a stinker there.
Well, I think that's what Fisher's main design was to bring a stinker.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, since we're on the subject, and I'll make this quick. So if the A's are on an upswing, it would be these next two off seasons where he needs to start opening the purse strings and start signing big time free agents, hooking a big fish or two, whether it be a pitcher or a couple of hitters, somebody
Yeah,
to kind of bridge the gap to push them into true contention. So that way, when they go to Vegas, the Vegas fans are actually ready to go to games. Because here's the thing I fear: you got 80, what is it, 80 something games, home games in Vegas. Now it's different for the Knights. They got about 30 games, however many they, 35 games.
yeah,
You got football, there's only 8 games in the season, and they've been selling off, forcing teams to go overseas or go to Mexico to play games, so you lose home games. And
yeah.
we've seen the games, those games have been okay, and the Golden Knights have been winning, which has helped fill up that stadium. But we're talking baseball. And when we're
Yeah,
talking baseball, we're talking 80 something games. That's
and that's
brand
small.
new jewel of a stadium is going to be half empty most of the damn time, and it's going to look just like it did at the O.co.
Yeah,
So he needs to open up the purse strings, bring in some high profile free agents to augment all this young talent to help propel them sooner rather than waiting, have those guys entrenched, and
mm,
then move them into the new stadium so that way they're already competing before they get to Vegas and
yeah.
actually have a real shot rather than a what we're used to, the Billy Bean one shot championship that he was hoping for with the tight purse strings that he was dealing with all them years as our GM.
100%. I could. There is not a single thing I would change about what you said. Like, man, it's now's the time. Get it done. I wouldn't mind seeing them win a World Series or get to a World Series in while they're playing in SAC, but I doubt that's going to happen. But I do like
Yeah.
the likes of Kurtz and like a lot of the young cats. Like when I play MLB The Show 26 or 25 or whichever one it is I'm playing. Um, always like playing with the A's because it really shows me what their young talent could develop into.
Yeah,
And
I want to
yeah,
say I bought 24, I think it was, because that was going to be the last time that they were going to be playing at O.co. I bought it because it was the last time my team was going to be the Oakland Athletics, and I'm holding on
yeah.
to that forever. So they're not locking me out of that shit. I'll buy the hard copy if I got to. But Fisher's got to do something rather than just relying on the young talent because that's not going to get it done in today's game. He has to go out there and make some big splashes in free agency, and and what's crazy is the splashes are crazy because you're talking, some guys are getting 300 million. Some dudes are getting 200 million. Then you got the
Yeah.
whales getting 600-700 million. And
Oh my
honestly,
god.
he's got to go out there over the next 2 seasons and get him a couple of Ahab stabs and bring in a couple of whales to really push this team. Because if you're halfway selling out the damn stadium in Vegas that's being built that you owe money on, you came out of pocket to build this. You got loans and all that. I mean, half empty stadiums ain't gonna get it done.
Yeah. 100%. And yeah, like you said, they got to go in there hot, but with the Vegas fans wanting to see something. I think they need to
Yeah,
make two major signings. I think they would need to they need to make two major well signings. They need to sign an ace for their pitching staff that can help develop whoever the young ace they want coming up. Uh well say well say that to help their young ones coming up, their young aces coming up. And then they need a solid bat in the center of that lineup because they have a lot of other ones. But you add, I know this is reaching. I'm not saying these people will actually be an A, but like somebody like Vlad Guerrero or somebody like that, a power bat that can play the outfield or first base or something like that. That's what they need. They need a Mark McGuire. They need an Albert Pujols. Not necessarily to that level, but they need
I'll
somebody
take
who
it a
can be the
step
anchor
further.
of like that because they have a lot of young studs that are around the infield and that are hitting the ball well. They just need that one veteran, or not veteran, but even he could be a young stud like hitter, but that guy that's going to be able to get us a home run at least once every 3 games or so. You know,
I'll go a step further. I think they need 2 players each offseason. They've got to make a gigantic splash. They need a 1-2 punch in their rotation, in the pitching rotation, that can go out there and dominate and get, you know, I don't know, 20 some odd good starts or whatever they call it. And can get you some dominant wins. And then I think they need two bats. I think you need a power bat to solidify the lineup, and I think you need another contact bat, a guy that averages hitting over 300. He doesn't need to have a ton of homers, but a guy that's going to get you on base. But I think they need 4 top free agents to come in and really boost this thing up before he goes to Vegas. Because if they continue to do what they've been doing the entire time he's on the team, I think it's going to fail in Vegas. It's going to be a disaster outside of the fact that he's going to sell the team for $3 billion or some crazy number. I think Fisher's going to sell the second he can, and that's what this hubbub is all about. Because obviously he don't care about winning.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, because if he cared about winning, he would have continued to pay and sign the players that he actually had there that would have helped them win.
Yeah, the only people in the organization that really care about their let me backtrack. The players care about winning. No player wants to lose. They love the money, but they don't want to lose. The management teams, the coaching staff, they want to win. I give them credit. Billy Bean has been dying to win the entire time. It's the ownership groups that could give a rat's ass about winning in athletics.
Exactly. All right. So we can rant on and on and on about the A's all night, but we're going to bring the show to a close right there. Again, Suave, thank you for making it back to us for a couple more weeks. As I told the duo as well, you're both always grandfathered into the show. So if you have the time and you want to be on, all you got to do is let me know, and we'll bring you in. Other than that, guys, I want to thank all of you out there who've been tapping in on the Double K Double Network and on YouTube. You can find me next on Tuesday playing some college football 26, probably with the Cal team on Tuesday morning. And the video game streams all week. Tuesday, college football 26, Wednesday, NBA 26, and Thursday, WWE SmackDown, and then Saturday with the Halo Wars 2. So that's it. This has been the Classroom. First GenXers presents. We are out. Peace.